Hey everyone, what is up? Pop Daddy here. Now, before we get started, I'm just going to go over some terminology that I'm going to be using in the video so you don't get lost. D23 is Disney's fan event that's held every other year that showcases new projects such as Disney park projects or entertainment projects, things from Lucasfilm, Marvel, Pixar, and so on. It's held every other year. So when you hear me say D23, that's what I'm referring to. Next is A through E tickets. When the Disney parks first opened, both Disneyland and Disney World, you had to pay us a price to get in, like a low price to get in. But if you wanted to do any attractions, you had to pay for a ticket book. So it was like you were going to a fair. And the ticket books had tickets from A through E. And A tickets were things like little things like, the carousel, while the B tickets were things like Swiss Family Treehouse or the Main Street Cinema. C tickets were your kids' rides, like your Dumbo, your Peter Pan's Flight, your Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. D tickets were your more complex shows like Country Bear Jamboree and Hall of Presidents. Also, Mission to Mars, when that first opened, that was a D ticket ride as well. The E ticket, that's your big boy. That's the one for the top tier attractions. This is your Haunted Mansion. This is your Space Mountain. This is your Enchanted Tiki Room during the first few years of the park for some reason. So the ticket system and the ticket books were phased out in the late 70s, and by the early 80s they were gone completely, and it was just one price to get into the parks and ride whatever you wanted. But the term e-ticket attraction is still used today, and so I may be using that a few times during the video. Okay, so now that that's over, we can get into it. At the recent D23, Disney announced that they would be expanding the Magic Kingdom by adding a new Cars Land, and which some people were excited for. In a separate video, I may explain my reservations on that and where it's going. But then there's the big one, which is a Villains Land. People have been clamoring for this for years, for decades actually. Ever since there was a rumor that there was concept art of it, people have been demanding that there be a Villains Land to show everyone off. And I got to thinking, seeing it's only going to be a small land and not its own park, and even if it were a park, they would have to be very limited on who they include in the park. And I was thinking, which villain should be represented? Which one should be left out? Because not every villain is going to be represented here. And in their, let's see, it's been about 87 years. You have that many films and you have that many years worth of villains. So I went through almost pretty much every Disney film I could think of, picking the villains and seeing who I think should be represented. Now keep in mind, these are my views only, and I'm not like an insider saying, these are the ones really being represented. These are my views. These are who I believe should be represented in which way. And there are going to be 3 tiers. First tier, high. These are the ones that either have very little representation in the parks, or they look super cool and they're very popular. Once we get started, you'll understand where I'm going with all this. These are the ones that should get a D or E ticket attraction. These are the ones where if there's a character meal in this section of the park, they'll be the ones coming from your table to table. They'll have exclusive meet and greets. They'll have gift shops and quick service food stands after them. Your mediums. These ones probably have a little representation in the parks already, or they look kind of cool. They're not like super up there, and they're not as popular, but they still have a certain following for them. So that'll be your medium, your mid tier. Finally, your minimal to none. These are villains that already have a presence in the parks in other sections or in other parks. I'm going by both Disneyland and Disney World, the US parks, seeing as it's going in Disney World. These are characters that would have an occasional meet and greet. Maybe during a special event or something. Ones that you may see walking around, ones that you can't meet all the time, but they'll be there. If there's a mural, they may be part of the mural, or they might have a snack dish named after them, like a snack bar there. That's if anything. This is minimal to none. Some of these in my view, some of these minimal ones shouldn't have representation at all. I'll explain there. These are characters that are really not that popular or fair representation. Or these are ones that the ones that are mostly going to be in this category are mostly uninteresting humans. Also, this is a big one. Just because they're Disney doesn't automatically mean they're included. So there's not going to be anyone from Lucasfilm. There's not going to be anyone from Marvel. There's not going to be anyone from the Muppets, although I don't think there's any bad guys there. And this is the big one. There's not going to be anyone from Pixar included. That one hurts because there are a lot of characters I can think of that are just good bad guys. But I'm keeping this one strictly Disney animated features only. I'm going to be cheating here and there. I'll let you know when I'm cheating, but I'm trying to keep it strictly to Disney feature films, not like Mickey Mouse cartoons and not like Disney shows, just the films. Starting off, we are starting at the beginning, and I am kind of cheating on these first few ones, but hear me out. First one has been there since the beginning, from 1928, and that is Pegleg Pete. Pegleg Pete rarely makes appearances in the park. I think you can only see him in Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. He rarely does meet and greets. He's not really there. But seeing him in current things like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and so on, he's more of a acquaintance and not as villainy. So I'm going to put him in medium. This is cheating again, but he looks cool. And that is from the Three Little Pigs, the Big Bad Wolf. I am putting him in high because he usually is included with villains things. So I'm putting him there, and he just looks so cool also. 1937, last cheating one for now. From the short The Lonesome Ghosts, we have the Ghosts. I'm putting them in minimal because the location of them is actually near where the Haunted Mansion is, and there's enough ghosts in there. We don't need any getting out and getting in this part of the park, so minimal to none on the Lonesome Ghosts. From 1937, we are getting into it now, and that is the Evil Queen from Snow White. Now, I'm actually putting her surprisingly in minimal. Although she's pretty cool looking, you can meet her she already has a character meal meet and greet at the Wilderness Lodge, and plus her Emperor Palpatine look is already at Snow White's Scary Adventures in Disneyland, and she is featured at the end of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So it's a hard call to make, but I had to make it because she is sort of represented well already. A 1-2 shot from 1940s Pinocchio. We have Stromboli, I would say minimal if none, because he only had a short appearance in the film, and plus he's a human, which is okay at best. But the other side of the coin, we have Honest John. Honest John, I believe, should be medium. He's not featured too well. I believe he's only featured in Pinocchio's Daring Journey in Disneyland, so he could make a good addition to the villains land in the park, but if he's not included, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Also from 1940, from Fantasia, we have Chernobog. Now, I'm giving him a minimal because he may look bad, but he looks awesome, but he's not really villainous. The only thing he does is look like a demon, but he doesn't do anything demonic or evil. So I'm going to give him a minimal. 1941's Dumbo, we have the Ringmaster, who is the only villain I could find from Dumbo when looking up for this. I would say minimal if anything, because Dumbo is fairly represented in the parks, and the Ringmaster isn't very memorable. Taking a few years break, coming back at 1947 from Song of the South, we have Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit. I'm going minimal with them also, seeing as they were actually fairly well represented in Splash Mountain, which is now gone, but I feel that there are other animal bad guys that would be better inclusions. 1949, from Ichabod and Mr. Toad, we have the Headless Horseman. The Headless Horseman only makes appearances currently at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. There's a parade, and he leads the parade by riding his horse down Main Street and with no head, and he is awesome. Maybe a statue with him, that would be cool. I don't think a meet and greet would work as well without his horse, but he'd be an awesome addition. From 1950, we have the Wicked Stepmother, Lady Tremaine, and the Stepsisters. I'm putting minimal on them because Cinderella is fairly represented in the parks, and you can meet these characters already, and they have made appearances at character meals, and they're not too exciting. From Alice in Wonderland, Queen of Hearts, I'm going to say medium, because when it comes to her, she is featured in the Alice in Wonderland ride at Disneyland, but she doesn't seem as exciting as some of the other villains do seem that have been in Disney films. So with her, I'm just doing a medium, but other people may enjoy her more, but I just don't. 1953, I may be little bit hypocritical on this one, but I feel that this is a character that could be represented more, and that is Captain Hook. And I'm going to say hi, because even though he's in Peter Pan's Flight, I think he's a cool character that is usually involved in villain stuff. Well, as is the Queen of Hearts, but Captain Hook's pretty high on the list for me. He looks cool, and he'd be a cool character to have there. 1955, Aunt Sarah. Don't know who Aunt Sarah is? Neither do I when I was making this list and I was looking up villains. She is the closest thing to a villain that Lady and the Tramp has, and I'm going minimal to none. You don't know her, I don't know her, maybe part of a mural, if anything. Get her out of here. 1959. This is it. This is where we start, where it comes to the big ones, the big guns when it comes to these characters. If anyone has a Mount Rushmore of Disney villains, this character is usually always on them. This one is one that deserves an e-ticket attraction, definitely, and that is Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. You know her, you love her, you hate her. She's got a cool look, she's got a scary atmosphere, and she is one of the ones that would be perfect for this section of the park. It's pretty much tailor-made for someone like her. From 1961, we have a back-to-back. This is another character who would be on a Mount Rushmore of Disney villains for some people, but not me, and that is Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians. She should have a high presence in this area of the park because she looks cool and she's wicked, and that's something that's awesome, and I think she would fit right in the villains area. 1963, this is a character when was on screen that is cool. Not many people remember her, and that is Madam Mim. I'm putting her under medium because we do have a Sword in the Stone area in the park already, and there is a Merlin sometimes, but he doesn't have a very high presence, and maybe she shouldn't either because they work better together, and by her own, I can't see her working that well. 1967, we have a double shot of Shere Khan and Kaa from the Jungle Book. I'm putting these guys in medium because I'm not sure how this Villains Land will look when done. For most things I've seen from concept art years ago, it was like a dark kingdom and not very jungly, and there's already enough jungle like 200 feet away in Adventureland, so maybe not for this area of the park, so medium if anything. 1970, Edgar. Don't know who Edgar is. Once again, like Aunt Sarah, neither did I. He is from the Aristocats. And once again, he's just a normal looking human, nothing exciting, minimal to none. He wouldn't fit in well at all. 1973, we are going with high when it comes to Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood. They're both cool characters. They are both awesome characters. I feel they would fit in well. Prince John and the Sheriff, there are costumes available because they did used to have meet and greets in the Magic Kingdom, so they would be high on my list. Madame Medusa. Now, I'm just going to say medium for this one. And one thing I feel that would fit in well is, if you remember in the movie, her headquarters or her hideout was an old decommissioned riverboat. And if you remember, seeing where Villains Land is going and what Cars Land is overtaking, they're going to have a decommissioned riverboat very shortly. So, something to think about. 1981, Amos Slade, another uninteresting human character, just someone there to bad guy for bad guy's sake. Not that good, not that memorable, minimal if anything. 1984, this is one that's on my Mount Rushmore of Disney villains, and definitely one that needs more representation in the parks, and that is the Horned King from the Black Cauldron. He looks cool, he looks mean, and if you have him talking, it's going to be John Hurt's voice. That is an awesome looking character. I feel he would be amazing for that area of the park. He would fit in well with Maleficent and company. 1986. This is a character that I originally had as high, but now that more I think about it, I'm putting him in medium, and that would be Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. He's voiced by Vincent Price. He looks cool and mean, but the more I think about it, he's just a giant rat. So I'm putting him in medium. From 1988, here's one that I'm putting in minimal, and there was never a second thought about it, even though he has Robert Loggia's voice, and that is Bill Sikes from Oliver and Company. I love the movie. I love the soundtrack. He is not very memorable at all. 1989, another Mount Rushmore character, but not for me, and this one's actually going in medium. because she does have a fairly enough representation of the parks already, and that is Ursula from The Little Mermaid. She's a great character. She's a great villain. I don't know where you could put her in this area of the park for like a dedicated section without her already stepping on the other Little Mermaid area's toes. 1990, Percival McLeach from The Rescuers Down Under. This is another forgettable human character, so minimal to none. 1991, another big villain for some people, and I'm putting him in minimal, and that's Gaston. Gaston already has Gaston's Tavern and a statue dedicated to Gaston and a meet and greet over in Fantasyland. Moving him over here would not make sense, seeing as Beast's castle in that area is all over there. So I hate to do this, and I hate to say this, but Gaston gets minimal representation in Villains Land because he already has a dedicated section to himself. 1992, another Mount Rushmore character for me, and that would be Jafar. There is very little Aladdin representation in the parks, and there hasn't been in many years. The only thing that's really there is the flying carpets attraction in Adventureland, and that's not very fun at all. Jafar is cool. Maybe there could be a magic carpet roller coaster or something like that. I feel that he would be a great character, and he would add a lot to that section of the park. 1993, I am cheating again here because these are not Disney Animation Studio releases. These are Walt Disney's picture releases. But don't come at me yet. I think you'll understand why. The first one is another Mount Rushmore character for some, and that is Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. As it stands right now, the only time to see him would be in Disneyland during the Oogie Boogie Bash during Halloween, and during the Haunted Mansion makeover at Halloween. And I feel that's not enough. He should be represented more, and this is the best place to do it. Also from 93, cheating again, and that would be the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus. I know it's not animated, but they would fit right in with the villains and with all the sorcery and all that. And I'm going high for them. I went high for Oogie Boogie also. The only time to really see them is during a show during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And there's not really a meet and greet or anything with them, so maybe snack bar named after them, maybe a dedicated meet and greet at their cabin, have the cabin built. They would be a great addition to the villains area. 1994, another Mount Rushmore for many people, and that is Scar from The Lion King. I'm going high. Lion King representation isn't as high as it used to be back in the day. There used to be a Magic Kingdom show called Legend of the Lion King or Journey of the Lion King, which was very popular, but is not there anymore. That ended in about 2003. There's the show at Animal Kingdom, but that's pretty much all the Lion King representation there is nowadays. 1995, from Pocahontas, we have Radcliffe. Once again, another human, not anything really memorable about him, minimal to none. Riding on his back, we have Frollo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, minimal to none. I could say the same things about him that I did about Radcliffe. The religious aspect does kick him up a little bit, but minimal to none. 97, my last Mount Rushmore character in my opinion, but there are others ahead, and that would be Hades from Hercules. He is one that is definitely deserving of a position in this villain's park. He looks cool, he sounds cool, and he's a great villain. Also high. The letters should be telling you. 1998, we have Shen Yu from Mulan. Mulan is severely underrepresented in the parks, so I believe that Shen Yu should be on the high tier. He looks awesome, and he's got that big, scary look, and I think he would be great there. 1999, we have Clayton from Tarzan. Random human, minimal to none. 2000, we have yet one more Mount Rushmore character, and I believe that people already think she should have her own roller coaster, and that is Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove. She's cool, throw some Kronk in with her, and you got a winning recipe right there for Villains Land. 2001, Lieutenant Rourke from Atlantis. Once again, he's like a carbon copy of Clayton from Tarzan, minimal to none. 2002, we have Gantu and Jumba from Lilo and Stitch. I would say minimal because Jumbo kind of gets a redemption arc and Gantu's not very memorable, but maybe I'll put Gantu in medium, seeing as there's not really any alien representation in this area. 2002, we have John Silver from Treasure Planet. Although he looks cool, he was not very memorable. I will put him in minimal as well. Alameda Slim from 2004's Home on the Range. This is one that I had to double check because I thought I was forgetting something, and it was him. Random Human Man, and not very memorable from a not very memorable movie. Minimal. From 2007, we have Bowler Hat Guy. Now, I haven't heard many things from this movie, but I have heard positive things about him. But the way he looks, it's just another human. I'm putting him in minimal. I know you guys might get mad at me, but he looks average if anything. They could like minimal if anything. 2008. This one's kind of cheating since the character wasn't a real villain, but a actor playing a villain, and that is Dr. Calico from Bolt. Um, he looked neat. He had a very interesting look to him. I'm putting him in medium, mostly because you have the Malcolm McDowell factor, and I'm a Malcolm McDowell fan, so there you go right there. From 2009, we have one more Mount Rushmore villain, and like with Ursula and Gaston, this one's going into minimal because there's already attraction associated with this franchise, and that is Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog. He is already linked to The Princess and the Frog, and they have their own attraction. Maybe an occasional meet and greet, like I said, for minimal, but nothing more than that because all the Princess and the Frog action's over on that side of the park. 2010, we have from Tangled, Mother Gothel and or the Stabbington Brothers. I'm putting them in minimal because they're just humans. From 2012, we have King Candy / Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph. I'm putting them in high because there is not very much Wreck-It Ralph representation in the parks. There's a single meet and greet at the Imagination Pavilion. At least I think someone from Wreck-It Ralph is meeting people over there now, but that's all there is. 2013, we have Hans from Frozen. Now, he wasn't a memorable bad guy, he was just a bad guy, and there is a lot of Frozen representation in the parks already, so I'm putting him in minimal. He would not fit in well at all. And 2014, we have Yokai from Big Hero 6. I'm putting him in high because he's a cool looking villain, and he would fit in well, even though he's a human. He's got that cool mask and that cool look. And he would just look cool in it, and it would give a like technical advantage in the area as opposed to the mostly medieval and old-timey feel that the area would have with the characters I've mentioned before. 2016, we have Bellwether from Zootopia. This one is going in minimal because if I recall correctly, I think Animal Kingdom is getting a Zootopia thing. So they've got the Zootopia representation. Bellwether wasn't as memorable as some of the other characters on this list, so I'm just putting her in minimal. From 2016, we have Tamatoa from Moana. He is a cool looking character and he gives that neat ocean vibe. And I'm going to put him in high. And plus, you got Jermaine Clement voicing him, and maybe he could sing a bit. I feel that his song is one of the best villain songs, if not one of the better ones. And maybe a ride or restaurant. You couldn't really have a meet and greet with him because he's a giant crab, but still, he would look really cool. And finally, a 7-year break until 2023 with King Magnifico from Wish. Although he's a human, I think it's too soon to call on him. So, King Magnifico, you're getting a too soon to tell. And that is it. Let me know what you think. Is there any villains that would be in your high tier, in your medium tier, or in your low tier? Let me know also, who's your Mount Rushmore of Disney villains? Did Maleficent not make the cut? Are you going against the grain with that? Did Jafar there? Or do you have someone weird like Radigan on yours? Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate you all. I thank you all. I just crossed 500 subscribers not too long ago. And, give me some suggestions on what you want to see for 500 celebration. Like, I could do crazy Ninja Turtles pizzas or something like that. And thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you all, and I will see you soon. Peace.